In fact, it's going to sound insane, but that is the nature of the theory. So Michel Foucault in particular forwarded this idea, a postmodern philosopher in the 60s, forwarded this idea that there are regimes of truth and that each culture produces its truths according to which statements it's willing to authenticate as true and false. And of course, as I opened earlier, that's considered to be a political process. The activists who changed postmodernism in the 90s took this a step further and have actually tied this to various racial groups, specifically by taking in the critical theory view that there are oppressors versus oppressed classes in society. And so their view is that things that white Westerners used to build up the modern world are white Western or male also knowledge. And they have, those people, white Western males with the eurocentric perspective, have colonized all other racial cultures, which it's already weird to say racial cultures, right? It doesn't make sense, but that's how they think. They have colonized other racial cultures with white Western knowledge and forced them to think in white Western ways. And that's not appropriate. So when you see them saying we need to decolonize the curriculum, that's what they mean, is to take things like white Western knowledge, as they call them, or the master's tools, as you'll hear scholars like Alison Bailey refer to them, drawing off of Audre Lorde, things like epistemic adequacy, which is fancy academic speak for knowing what you're talking about, science, reason. As I mentioned in my opening, we've seen productivity, punctuality, loyalty, reliability, soundness of argument, validity of argument. All of these things have been put up as white Western ideas that have colonized other ways of knowing. And so they need to be suppressed so that those other ways of knowing can be brought up. But this literally means they're saying that science and rationality and reason are features of white people, and they're not for black people. And if you look at the critical race theory literature, for example, their introductory texts, they say that the knowledge of black people is storytelling, or narrative driving. They literally draw the distinction. Science is for white people, storytelling is for black people, and they want to remake our education system around that. You mentioned the accent and the language. They call that linguistic justice usually. Critical grammar is a new spin on it. But this is a long line of thought where they want to open the playing field to everything that's not white and Western and say that needs to be forwarded in a kind of radical egalitarian agenda to unmake that oppression of knowing what we're talking about.